what happened on Saturday, we saw security ultimately work in that no one died, right? But I think it also opened a lot of what ifs. What if this gunman hadn't been alone? What if this gunman had come with explosives? What if? And that was really but for the grace of whatever this man, this suspect, chose to do, right? So what kind of questions now does Secret Service have to be brainstorming for the kind of can of worms that this opens up?
Yeah, I'd add to the what ifs. What if he had accomplices outside as everybody was coming out and surging onto the sidewalks and somebody was waiting to ambush them? So what's the next step moving forward, particularly if we want to do this again in 30 days? First, you got to reconsider having that many people in the line of presidential succession sitting in the same room, number one. Number two, you've got to consider moving your hard perimeter farther out, even onto the street, so that your so-called mag and bag operation, the magnetometers, the checking of bags, takes place as far away as possible, so that if something goes bad, it happens as far away from your protectees as possible. Number three, you should be reconsidering this idea of a paper ticket that you flash at somebody and get in. I have seen greater security at the after parties for this dinner than I have for the dinner itself. Electronic code on your phone, QR codes, double checking your ID with your phone electronically, two sets of mag and bag. I've been in after parties where the mag and bag happens on the sidewalk. So all of that needs to be reconsidered. And then the obvious, why are you having this event in a fully operating hotel with 1,100 guest rooms?
Yeah, that is a considerable security consideration. I also wonder, Frank, what you make of these initial three charges, including an attempt to assassinate the president.
Yeah, as Paula said, I'm really struck by the lack of the charge of assaulting a federal officer, and I think Paula's got it right. Either they can't yet prove that the round that struck the officer came from the suspect, they're waiting for the internal bolt review, or they've already proven that it did not, so that's interesting. I also think we're going to see more charges. I would not be surprised if at a minimum we see an attempt to add a domestic terror sentencing enhancement at sentencing, but even back that up. Within the last 60 days, we saw DOJ charge American citizens with being Antifa, and they were convicted of material support to terrorism. Highly unprecedented. I think we'll see that tacked on here.
We just got some sound in from a witness who watched what happened just outside the ballroom on Saturday night. Let's go ahead and listen to that.
It was a shotgun, yes, and he was running right in my directions, magazine clips around his body.
Had you already climbed all the stairs?
I had already climbed all the stairs.
So you were on the same level as him?
He dropped right at my feet.
When you say he dropped right at your feet?
He fell face first.
Frank, just given what you see in the video, what you're hearing from this witness, what does it tell you about the level of sophistication, perhaps, that this assailant, that this alleged shooter had in mind for the event on Saturday?
There's an interesting dynamic between the level of planning and premeditation that appears to have gone into this. He got a room at the hotel in advance. He planned to take his train all the way across the country. He chose a shotgun with buckshot. A great deal of thought reflected in the manifesto about what he's about to do. Yet in the execution of it, I see far less sophistication. I mean, he appears to have thought that he was going to breach security and get all the way in and execute his plan against the protectees. And that didn't happen. So, two things can be true at the same time. There was a lapse in security that he exploited, but there was a success story in that he was taken down far enough away from the protectees.
Chief Gaynor, you know what security situations like this are like. You've had so much experience here in dealing with major events. Wondering what you think about what happened here. Did it actually work as intended? Because the suspect didn't get all that close to the president, or in your view, was the security insufficient?
Well, number one, it worked because no one was injured, apparently, besides the Secret Service officer and the offender himself. But getting kind of close and almost close is not good enough in the business. So I am confident that the Secret Service and others involved will take a close look at what went right and what went wrong. And Manu, you may know that over the years, police in general or federal agencies haven't been very good at doing great examinations because we never want to offend those who have been injured or involved in the heroism, being heroes at these events. But we've become much more adept at reviewing strengths and weaknesses. I gotta say, it would appear he got closer than anyone would want to. And so you have to look at what went wrong and what went right.
Should that include, Chief, actually examining the hotel guests themselves because this suspect wrote in his manifesto that he was surprised at the lack of security at the hotel, that he's able to walk in with a bag full of weapons. So should there be a different level of security for hotel guests themselves?
Well, I think we're going to look at it. When we had the biggest security events, whether it was State of the Union or the inauguration or any place else that we control, we run name checks on all the guests, which I'm sure is done now. In a hotel situation, unless you control the whole hotel, you do have to look at that. And I don't know, as I sit here, whether that was done to at least run the names of the people there. Now, maybe it's really pointing out that that's a bad venue. Now, I've been thinking about the president's call to have this within the next 30 days. I suggest there are places now in D.C. where you can do that. And for instance, maybe the Capital One Arena, which you could better secure, and then you wouldn't have people sleeping overnight. So any place where you're going to have people in there that you haven't previously screened or controlled, you've got a problem.
And Chief, I just want to ask you one other question about this, because much of the line of succession was in that room. The president, the vice president, the Speaker of the House, multiple members of the cabinet. Should this event have been given a higher security designation in your view?
Well, using the old rectoscope, something should have been done there is the quick answer. I think that's one of the reasons that you wouldn't have the event there with this little background that probably was done on people at the hotel. So I don't think it should be had there. I think there are better ways to secure it, and they should second guess having all their survivors or people you want to survive in that one location.
And Josh, the president is using this incident to bolster support for his call for a new White House ballroom. Is that the answer here, only having the president attend major events at the White House? Is it possible to properly secure every place the president goes outside the White House?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, obviously, the whole ballroom issue has an entire political component, which I'll leave to your panel of experts. But purely from a security standpoint, I don't think you're going to have the president do every single event in one place. I mean, this is a president, obviously, who travels across the country, indeed across the world. And so that would definitely provide additional security to have that within the White House compound and all the accoutrements of the Secret Service that come along with it on a daily basis. The question is that realistic that you have a president who's simply in one location? I think bottom line for me, Manu, is that we are facing two realities here as we look back on that incident, a very scary incident on Saturday night, and that is we are a nation where no place is seemingly immune to gun violence. That can be true. And also a second reality is that if you look at the Secret Service, their primary job is to protect the president, the vice president, and those protectees, which they did here. But there will be a review, as the chief said, to look at, what was the safety like for everyone else who was in attendance at this event, to include everything that he mentioned there. There's a question about maybe you move back that initial checkpoint to provide a little bit more room. I mean, we saw the gunman on that CCTV video just at a dead sprint running past that. Whether he tripped or whether he was actually confronted, it was a short distance to actually get down the stairs into the ballroom. Although I will note that I've talked to some of our colleagues like you who were there who said that there was Secret Service all over the place. So bottom line, it will be looked at. There will be questions. But to your original question, I don't think the answer is going to be to lock down the president because, again, this is a president who's always on the move.